Have you ever wondered what the Bible doesn't reveal so openly about Archangel Michael? What if I told you that a manuscript of more than 3,000 years brings to light a secret that could change everything you knew about battle between good and evil? Well, behind the sacred pages, there is a story that is little spoken of, but that echoes in the heavens and on earth to this day. One spiritual conflict involving fallen angels, Lucifer, and a dispute so intense that it reached the body of Moses. This is not just another theological curiosity. It is a revelation that can open your eyes to invisible realities, which directly affect your life, your faith, and your daily decisions. What really happened in heavenly battle? Because Miguel is mentioned with such authority in sacred texts. And what is the true meaning of spiritual dispute with the enemy of our souls? Get ready, because in this video you will dive deep into biblical revelations that have been forgotten, omitted, or simply left aside for centuries. It's time to uncover what few have dared to investigate. And maybe, at the end of this journey, you will realize that the battlefield is not that far away. Few people know, but Archangel Michael is not just a supporting character in the scriptures, he is a celestial war leader, with direct authority from heaven. Between the lines of 3,000-year-old Bible, we find clues about his mission: confront the fallen angels, commanded by none other than Lucifer. It's as if the entire universe is watching this epic confrontation between light and darkness. It is not a symbolic scene, it is a spiritual reality active to this day. Miguel doesn't just defend, he fights, with sword in hand and fire in his eyes. This combat does not take place in a physical field, but in a spiritual plane that interacts with our world. Have you ever felt an inexplicable heaviness in the environment? Or fought internal battles that seemed bigger than you? Perhaps you are experiencing echoes of this heavenly battle. Miguel represents the divine authority in action. He intervenes, especially when God's people cry out with faith and discernment. Already angelic hierarchy, Miguel occupies a unique position. He is called the Prince and Defender of God's people, especially in moments of spiritual crisis. That's why, when you pray fervently and resist evil, there is an invisible force working on your behalf, and often, that force has a name: Miguel. Understanding this changes everything. It teaches us that we are not alone in the struggles we face. If you want to go deeper, read the book of Daniel, chapter 10, and then Revelation 12. There are moments recorded where Michael appears as a warrior, as a celestial general in battle. And that's not just beautiful, it's a call to vigilance. When the sky goes to war, the earth feels the tremors. And those who are aligned with the high need to learn to fight as if they were on their knees. Because that's how Miguel wins. Imagine finding an ancient manuscript hidden for centuries, with details most people have never read. This is exactly what scholars claim to have happened with certain fragments of a 3,000-year-old Bible. These texts bring to light little-known actions of the Archangel Michael, including times when he directly intervened against evil forces. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's archaeology plus spiritual revelation. When these writings emerge, it is as if the veil of the invisible is torn. One of the most impressive excerpts talks about Miguel facing entities that today we would label as fallen angels. They did not hide, but acted openly to corrupt nations and divert the course of history. And the most surprising thing? Miguel confronted them with authority, as someone carrying direct orders from heaven. This shows us how serious the spiritual conflict described in these texts. And how current it remains. Some parts of these manuscripts mention the preservation of sacred elements, battles for spiritual territories, and the protection of leaders chosen by God. In all records, Miguel appears as the guardian of the divine plan. This changes our way of seeing spirituality, not as something passive, but as a strategic war, where every detail counts. And these manuscripts reveal details that modern tradition has left out. Want a practical tip? Begin exploring these texts through works such as the Book of Enoch and the Dead Sea Writings. Although not canonical, they help to understand the spiritual background of Miguel's actions. But read with discernment and with the Bible as a basis. After all spiritual knowledge needs secure foundation. And if even angels fight, who are we to fold our arms? Among the most intriguing revelations of 3,000-year-old Bible is the moment when Miguel confronts Lucifer, not just as an enemy, but as a direct rival in heavenly battle. This dispute is old, deep and loaded with spiritual meanings. One of the most talked about episodes occurs when Miguel fights with Satan for the body of Moses. Why would a body be so important? Because he represented the promise, leadership, and inheritance of God's people. This scene, mentioned in the letter of Jude, seems symbolic, but what if it is more real than we imagine? Michael does not dare to pronounce his own judgment against Lucifer, but the rebuke in the name of the Lord. This teaches us something powerful about divine authority, is not based on shouting or position, but on submission to the will of God. It's heaven saying that even in war, there is order and hierarchy. And Miguel, as always, follows the command from above to the letter. The confrontation with fallen angels, it's not just a spectacular scene, it's an ongoing reality in the spiritual world. Lucifer, with his arrogance and rebellion, tries to oppose God's plans. Miguel, on the other hand, appears as the one who maintains limits, who guards what is holy. This clash is, in fact, a mirror of what happens to us. Every day, there is a spiritual dispute by our mind, by our heart and by our decisions. Do you want to apply this in practice? The next time you feel like you are being attacked emotionally or spiritually, remember this principle: you don't have to fight with your own strength. Declare God's authority, as Michael did. Pray firmly, quote the word and position yourself as someone who knows who is on your side. Because at the end of the day, this war isn't just about Michael and Lucifer, it's also about you. When we understand Michael's role in the scriptures, a lot of things Christian theology gains new light. He is not just a messenger, he is an active agent in the conflict between good and evil. This directly affects our worldview. We are living in a spiritual war and, contrary to what many think, it is not limited to invisible angels facing each other in heaven. It is reflected in choices, thoughts and even the environments we frequent. A divine authority exercised by Miguel shows us that there is a clear structure in the spiritual realm. Nothing is by chance. God acts through an angelic hierarchy well defined, and Miguel is at the top when it comes to spiritual combat. This reinforces a fundamental truth: evil may be bold, but heaven is orderly. And when we follow this model of order and holiness, we have more strength to resist invisible attacks. Another important point: the clash between Michael and Lucifer was not a fight between equal forces. It was an assertion of divine rule over chaos. And this has profound implications. Our faith is not based on superstition, but on biblical revelation solid. What is recorded there, even if it sometimes seems symbolic, points to eternal truths. Understanding this changes the way we pray, fast and even face temptations. So what to do with all this? Start at the base, strengthen your reading of the Bible and deepen your knowledge on topics such as spiritual warfare and heavenly battles. Seek reliable studies, listen to good teachers, but above all, pray. Miguel only acts in the name of God, and so should you. Because, in the end, the spiritual dispute that it hangs in the sky is an invitation for us to position ourselves here on earth with courage, faith, and discernment. After all this, the question remains: what are you going to do with this knowledge? Will you keep it just as a curiosity or allow it to transform your spiritual vision? The story of Miguel, the ancient manuscripts and the conflict with Lucifer, they reveal something much bigger than a distant dispute. They point to the reality you live in now. Are you really prepared for this? Invisible war. Isn't it time to review your spiritual weapons? How is your prayer life? Have you been seeking discernment in the scriptures or just reacting to everyday attacks? Miguel's performance reminds us that authority comes from intimacy with God, and not titles or appearance. The world needs people who fight with wisdom, faith, and firmness. So, how about taking a step today? Reinforce your spiritual armor. Read more, pray more, question more. Because what is at stake is bigger than we imagine. The spiritual conflict, it's real, and you're part of it, whether you want it or not. And if Miguel is on God's side, that's exactly where you should be too, don't you think? If this content made you think, like the video, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss the next chapters of this journey. Because there is still many more hidden biblical revelations waiting to be discovered. And here, we will unearth each one of them, together.